You really will. That's very true.
Wow. Did somebody else join us in here? Somebody said very true.
That's very, very true.
Yeah, somebody else is here. Who is it?
Hi, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Hey, VJ. How are you doing?
Hi.
That's our
Sorry
co-host
so
there.
long,
It's
but
cool.
I'm good today.
I know you're busy. You doing other recordings you were doing, so that's good. We appreciate you coming in, definitely.
I couldn't miss this. It was a definitely one that I wanted to make sure that I got to be a part of. So thank you for having me back again.
Oh yeah, most definitely. So I actually just spoke. That's my wife you were just hearing, Angela. And
Hi, BJ. Hi.
Yep, that's VJ Burton, one half of the Choppin' It Up with Q show. And so we were actually speaking about the some of the triggers and some of the things that or the questions that we need to ask when it comes to domestic violence. Like, is there mutual respect for privacy? And then the other one is, do you and your partner respect each other's boundaries without getting angry or making each other feel bad? Those are light topics, you know what I mean? Those are light questions that we may not think much about, but those also are triggers, you know what I mean? Not respecting.
They are.
Uh-huh.
I was going to say, they very much are. And I think a lot of times what happens in relationships is you have that honeymoon phase, right? And you're with a person, and these very small triggers and behaviors, instead of us taking them for what they are and being like, okay, something is not right here, we sometimes are like, well, everything else is good, So we look at it as, oh, this person acts this way because they really care. And that's the thing that you hear a lot of times. Oh, this person acts this way because they really care about me. He, is possessive because he just loves me and he doesn't want anybody else to have me. But that oftentimes snowballs into situations where it's, violence. If I can't have you, nobody can have you. Or you can't go out of the house like that. Or where are you going and who are you going to be with? And it goes from being a situation where it is cute to being a situation where it's concerning. And it also
Hold on a second, VJ. If you're not talking, can you mute out? Because I got somebody's TV very loud in the background. Or somebody talking. It's either TV or talking, and somebody loud though. All right, continue, VJ.
I was like, I don't hear anything. I was like, what? No, but I was going to say, like, a lot of times it's triggers, and I guess I can share a bit about me. So for those of you who don't know, I was married for a couple of years, and I was with the person I was married to for about 6 years before we got married. And I can remember maybe the first instances of us getting into, like, an argument that turned physical. Essentially, we got into an argument, and I can remember sitting across the room from him and it being just kind of something very trivial, and he got extremely upset to the point to where next thing I knew, like, I looked up and he had cleared the space between us and had his hands around my neck.
Wow.
And at that point, we were living in an apartment together. We weren't married. We were living in an apartment together. And his uncle was living with us, too. We had a two-bedroom apartment, and the uncle was living with us, too. And I can remember screaming for help because this 200-plus size man is on top of me, choking me, and he's got the door locked. And so when his uncle's knocking on the door, like, are you okay? He yells at the uncle to go away, and the uncle does.
The uncle just walked away.
Right. He just left me to fend for myself. And I can remember that night thinking, I can't get out of this. What am I supposed to do? And
now, this is the key question here. So, this is when you dig deeper in here. All right, so when that happened, you didn't immediately get out of that relationship, right? Did you think, okay, this will get better, or he was just mad, or maybe I caused this, or was it something like that? Or did you just say, okay, I'm gonna bear down, and as soon as I can get up out of here, I'm out?
At that point, we weren't married, so I think a lot of it was that was maybe 4 years into our relationship, and he had never done anything like that before. And so after that happened, I can remember being scared and just kind of sitting there, upset, crying. And he came to me and he was like, I promise it'll never happen again. I don't know what came over me. The same typical stuff that abusers say. And me never being in a situation where I'd been exposed to that or had anybody be abusive or raise their voice to me like that, I just assumed that it was a bad outburst from someone who's usually a good person. And so I chalked it up to that, and that allowed me to stay. I was in a lot of denial about where I was as a person and what I needed for my relationship, because had I been thinking straight and focusing on loving myself, there's nothing that man could have said that would have been like, it's okay for you to ever do that. Because my thought was, well, maybe I triggered him. And then every time it happened after that, it was always, well, you did X, Y, Z to make me do that.
Wow.
So I will preface that with saying, if anybody is listening and if you are a survivor of domestic abuse or you were in that situation now, just know that it's never your fault if somebody puts their hands on you. That is a tool they use to control you and keep you there. They beat down your self-esteem to make you feel like nobody else will want you if you leave, where you're going to go if you leave, and to make you feel like it's always your fault. And that's another one of those triggers. When a person constantly belittles you and always wants to make you seem like everything that goes wrong, no matter what it is your fault, it is a tool to keep you there.
So, BJ, that goes back to my original point of self, about self first, self-love. I mean, even on an airplane, if the airplane crashes, they tell you to put on your mask before you can help someone else. So if you have a pure, honest, loving relationship with self, then nothing, any man, woman, anybody can say anything to you to control you, to hold you down, to keep you from being who you're supposed to be, and to understanding and peeping out, okay, this is not right, and I need to do what I need to do to remove myself from the situation. It's just, and it takes time sometimes. It takes growth. It takes prayer. It takes a bunch of different things for you to get to that place in your life, but it starts with self. And if you don't have that self-esteem and, to believe in yourself that you can get through it, and the next person is constantly, telling you these demeaning, things, you can't do this, you're not that, nobody gonna want you. It just helps feed that if you don't have some type of sense of self.
Right.
Yeah, I think we all have those insecurities in our lives, right? Like we all have those things,
right,
those things that we are insecure about. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we are completely insecure people. But I think that is the thing with abusers, right? They hone in on those things that you are insecure about, and they exploit those things. You should always take care of self. And when you feel like you're in a good place, but you have these small things that they're exploiting, they immediately dig into that. And then it's always about those things. And it's a way of wearing you down, right? And they wear you down and wear you down and wear you down until you look up one day and you start believing the bull crap that they're feeding you. And I think that's where a lot of people, you come into it feeling like you're in a good spot, and maybe realistically you aren't. And then the small cracks that are in you as a person allow that person to chip away enough to break you down. It takes a very strong sense of self.
Yeah, but the other issue that I have with the thing that bothers me about your story is the whole thing with the uncle and he just I don't know what it is about family and us not teaching the men in our lives about standing up for what's right. I mean, so that means he just basically sat back and said, it's okay then. It's okay. It's normal. There's a sense of normalcy to this. And he can look you in the face the next day knowing what his nephew had done. It's the weirdest thing to me that we don't teach these things to our sons and nephews and cousins, and to let them know. Well, I mean, some of us do, and we do that. We do that, but it's just amazing how apparently that had not.
Yeah, and I think it is, and I think a lot of it goes back to the way we're socialized, right? I think as women, we were socialized to be demure and to not make scenes and make fusses and to be quote-unquote ladylike. And boys and men are socialized to be more aggressive and to not do things based on emotions or feelings, to outwardly be violent a lot of times. And so when they don't have outlets for these things, or essentially you have to look at it like they're being children. Like they have the emotional range of a 6-year-old. And what do small children do when they are unable to use their words. They lash out violently a lot of times. Like they hit, they bite, they spit. And so a lot of times we are conditioning the men in our families and society as a whole for these men to think it's okay to have a stunted emotional range in which it's okay for them to lash out at people and be violent. And that's a lot of what you see. And it's not necessarily just towards women. I mean, that extends to anybody if they feel like they can't have a conversation with.
Hey, did somebody join us? Who we got joining us there? Hello?
I heard it, but I don't.
It's all right. This is a Kickin with Kysii show. Did somebody join us?
No. I'm sorry, my dog is being crazy.
It's all right. Now I got a question. There's some things here that I wanted to talk about that actually some people don't even recognize that they are in a situation of domestic violence. There are several bullet points. There's several things that may be occurring, and people don't know. I mean, of course you got the obvious stuff like, you know, getting punched or slapped or whatever. But it said, you know, forbidding you from eating or sleeping. I mean, there was things that I pulled up. I did my research here, and because this show, I wanted it to be not a tool, but I wanted, you know, somebody that may be in a situation like this to recognize the signs or whatever, that they, you know, would go out and seek help. But there's certain things that said, like forbidding you from eating or sleeping, hurting you with weapons, preventing you from calling police or seeking medical attention, harming the children, abandoning you in unfamiliar places, driving recklessly or dangerously when you're in the car with them, taking your money or refusing to give you money for necessary expenses. That right there might be, you know, my wife don't give me no money, but I can't say she's abusing me, but that one right there's got an asterisk next to it.
Because it's about control, though, babe. It's about control.
Right.
So that still is abuse. It's about control. If I don't have what I need, I have to come to you, beg you. That's control.
Or destroy your property. Like I just go and destroy something of yours because I'm mad at you. You know what I mean? Something like that. Or either hurt your pet because you like your pet. You know, just something that you like that I just go and destroy or mess up or hurt.
It's all about emotional abuse and control. And a lot of times the other one that I think is important to note is that a lot of times abusers will alienate you from your family, and it's not necessarily physical, but it'll be things like, oh, well, I don't feel like your family really likes me. Let's just stay at home. Or I don't really like when you go around them and spend time away from us. Let's just be alone. Or I don't like your friends. I don't like you hanging out with them. And granted, we all kind of have those weird feelings, but we allow people to, you know, be friends with who they want to be friends with, and family is family. But a lot of times with abusers, that is one of their tools. Not only is it monetary, but they cut you off from your friends and family so that you don't have anybody to go to escape or to get away from them. They keep you from calling the police. I think at one point I had a black eye from an altercation I had with my ex-husband, and I told my family that I had tripped and fell down the steps to go to the laundry room, and I'd hit my face on the door grills.
Wow.
I mean, and that's the thing. It gets to a point to where it is very serious. I was hiding the things that were going on from my family and my friends because I didn't feel like they would understand, right? They'd be like, oh, you're crazy for wanting to stay. But we got married, and I felt like I had made this vow before God and all these people, you know, in sickness and health, through thick and thin, we're going to make this work. And I kept thinking that there was something I could do to fix them. And there's never anything you can do to fix people like that. But I can remember him taking my keys from me, not letting me leave the house. I can remember instances where he's ripped clothing of mine. All of those things that you were talking about in those bullet points, I can distinctly remember instances where those happened in my marriage.
Right.
It's real, and I think people are under the impression that you have to be a weak-minded person to stay, or that you don't recognize the things that are going on. And in the moment, it just feels like I'm married to this person. You know, they don't want me to go out with these people, or they don't want me dressed like that. And it's never that. It's absolutely about power and control and ways that they can keep you from having access to a way away from them or out of the situation.
Okay. Looks like Alma's about to call in right now. I got her publicist, PR person on, so she reached out to her. The thing that